Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Jimothy Listens. My name is Jimothy, and it is time for another What Have I Been Listening to This Week? The show where I take you through the past 7 days, things that have come out, things that I've finally got around to listening to, and give you just some rapid fire thoughts on all of them. I got through actually quite a few things this week. Some good, some great, some have actually, I think everything's pretty good. Looking at the list, there's not anything. No, it's all pretty decent this week. So yeah, let's just get into it. Starting off with a kind of like side release thing, but something that I definitely wanted to shout out is the deluxe version of Magdalena Bay's Mercurial World album. The original album is one of my favorite albums of last year. I gave it a perfect 10 out of 10. It's phenomenal. I think it's incredible. And this deluxe version is an amazing add-on to it. The two new songs, All You Do and Unconditional, are super tasty. They're just as good as anything off of the main album. All of the remixes are fun and do their job well, and also I like the names on there, like Danielle Hall and who did the Something for Two remix? Cecil Believe. Yeah, they both crush it. And also I love the kind of stripped back like piano and string versions of a lot of the songs, especially like the Mercurial World one. Gorgeous, absolutely incredible. And the little interludes made up of recordings that fans sent in just sort of telling their secrets are really sweet and nice, and they play into the narrative of the album really well. It really is what a deluxe version of an album should be. It's the album expanded upon, made bigger and better. It's truly just incredible, and it's just reminded me how much I love this album, and I've just been listening to it nonstop again, which is, you know, yep, great, fine, but I'm going to be seeing them in January. They're coming to Australia, and I'm so excited. Anyway, no score because this is just a deluxe version, but good. If you haven't heard the original album, go and listen to it. It's phenomenal. This is one of my favorite albums of the year, easily, hands down. It's just mind-blowing. It is phenomenal. It is absolutely insanely good. It's one of those albums that I really can't properly describe. You just have to hear it for yourself. Normally with like a good album, it'll be, wow, I've never heard anything like this before, or like the sound is incredible, or it'll be like, wow, this really made me feel something super strongly, it's like really gorgeous, and I'm like, ooh, about it. This is both of those things done better than pretty much everything else I've heard this year. It is one of the best sounding things I have ever heard, and also one of the most like emotionally potent coming together in one. I'm getting choked up just thinking about it. No. The production is incredible. It's these wonderful like electronic kind of poppy, but not like any pop music you've ever heard, like progressions that are just completely kind of deformed and glitched in a way that just makes them even more beautiful. All of the like beats and everything are super tasty and thick and rich and delicious, and there are parts that go insanely hard, but then there are parts that also just really strip it back. Like there's a couple very much just like vocal focused songs that are really super pretty. And while I haven't, you know, like gone through all of the lyrics or anything and know exactly what everything's about, the kind of overarching themes of loneliness and just craving and that constant like trying to escape the past but not wanting to leave it behind, it's very touching and very kind of like heavy, but they do it in a way that also comes with so much joy. As much as there are hard times and really kind of like unhappy negative points of it, it really is just in search of joy the whole time, and it's incredible the way that it manages to just have the highest of highs and the lowest of lows on the emotional scale while sounding absolutely beautiful the whole time. It's truly an incredible album, one that you should definitely listen to, one that will absolutely be high up on my list at the end of the year. It's just ridiculous. It's like a 9 to 10 out of 10. William Hutson, one of the producers from the band Clipping, who I talked about last week, and we'll also talk about again a little bit later in this video, has released just his own little kind of noise project, and it's pretty cool. Now, I'm by no means an expert in noise music. I don't know a lot of the kind of technical things that go on, but what I find sort of interesting about this release is that most of the noise that I've listened to is the very much like electronic harsh noise that sounds very like buzzy and overwhelming. This is more, I think, is it musique concrète? Is that the word for it? Where this is like improvisations on like a tape player and like recording stuff, and so instead of just sounding like kind of static that is possessed, you can hear sort of like things whirring and like actual physical things sort of going back and forth and being glitched out, and it's cool. It's very cool. You know, it's not like a sort of overwhelming pummeling noise listen like a lot of the noise stuff that I've heard. It's just like, oh, these are cool sounds and you've done a cool thing with it. It's just very cool. I don't know what to score it because it's 3 noise tracks, but I'd say maybe a out of 10. That kid is one of the more exciting artists in the like underground pop scene at the moment. I really enjoyed his Come Down mixtape last year. I thought there were a few bangers on that. And since then, he's really been hyping up this next mixtape as like, oh, it's my best work. It's some of the best stuff I've ever done. Boom, 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 boom. And so I've been really excited to get into it. And it kind of, yeah, the first half of the project I was quite disappointed. While the production and the lyrics are giving that very much like 2010s dance pop feel, like you're sort of Kesha, oh, I'm gonna go out and get drunk and crash cars and I don't care about anything. It's like giving that kind of vibe. Spencer's performance just is very kind of like laid back, and he does most of it with this very kind of like quiet, breathy voice, which just doesn't really match the vibe, and he ends up just getting swallowed by the like energetic production, and it leaves a weird sound that doesn't really hook me in any way. Though fortunately this mixtape is one of the most backloaded projects I've heard this year, as the second half is just banger after banger. Starting around Full Throttle, which was the lead single, the song Sex Tonight might be my favorite song. It is just over the top, filthy, disgusting, nasty. Like it's Kim Petras' slut pop, but done by that kid. The track Thelma and Louie shows that kid finally giving an animated, energetic performance as him and Chase Icons just trade bars back and forth, going ham, just trying to one-up each other with who can say the most ridiculous lyric. One of my favorites is when that kid says, "Yeah, I hit your dog, but I did it in a Lambo." Great stuff. The final track, Superstar, actually kind of nails that big early 2010s pop star feeling that the first half was going for. It's a really great closer to what is kind of a hit or miss album. And I think really the most like worrying thing about this is that the weakest part of this mixtape is definitely that kid himself. While he manages to kind of pick it up on the second half, even then he's being outshined by all of the features and pretty much most of the production on this mixtape as well. So I hope that in the future he kind of really just like steps his game up and goes, okay, this is what people are enjoying, this is what, you know, this is the fun stuff, let's do more of that, because I know that he can do it. He's just choosing to be a little bit like on this mixtape, when I feel like what works better is when he's just going completely ham. So I think there still shows a lot of promise for that kid, and so I'm still excited to see where he's gonna go. But for now, this is like a 6 out of 10. The second part of Clipping's little remixing EPs has come out. I talked about the first part last week, and I'd say on the whole I like this one even better. This one actually has names that I recognize first off, which is fun. We've got Basek doing a really fun, like, heavy electronic remix of the track Run For Your Life, which slaps. Fire Tools, who I'm not usually the biggest fan of, pull out an amazing remix of Attunement. I absolutely love it. And then one of my favorite comedians, British comedian James Acaster, does an incredible remix of He Dead and She Bad mixed together, and it slaps, and I'm just really excited to see him in this world. Because yes, absolutely. And the other remixes are all great too. There's just a lot of cool, out there, wacky, like electronic stuff going on. It's super cool. And yeah, gets a cool remixes out of 10. Whiston, the British electronic music producer, has put out this album and it's delicious. It's really tasty. Kai's production is just so like atmospheric and textured. It really feels like he builds an entire world with each track. Though I found the sort of first few songs on this album to be a little bit underwhelming. I thought they had nice sounds and textures to them, but just didn't really do anything with them. From like the 4th track onwards, I just started to fall deeper and deeper into the album. There's gorgeous shimmering synths and thick bass and some wonderful like string arrangements to just like pack it out and make it feel a whole lot grander. It feels like exploring an alien planet and really just like noticing the beauty tucked into every tiny little detail of every corner. I also really like the little snippets of conversation with who I'm assuming is Kai's mum, which just add another kind of emotional layer and a bit more depth to these songs and make it feel like instead of just being here's some cool sounds, it's like, oh no, this has like real meaning to it and sort of a purpose and just makes it feel a bit more impactful because of it. This really is just, yeah, a really nice, pretty, gorgeous album, and I'm into it quite a bit. It's a 7 to 8 out of 10. CRAVITY's latest comeback is here. I have a reaction to it, so I'm not really going to talk too much about this now, but to kind of give you a basic rundown, I think the title track and the sort of single that they dropped a bit earlier are pretty boring and basic and really just doing the like BTS Spiderr Permission to Dance like as boring and bland and clean and tightly produced and marketable as possible. I'm not really into them, but the rest of the songs kind of do slightly different things. I think there's a couple of like really cool, nice songs in there that actually live up to CRAVITY's previous stuff, and then there's a couple that could be cool but just kind of don't do enough with it. So yeah, on the whole, it's not my favorite CRAVITY release. I just hope that this is kind of like a one-off, oh, we're going to do this thing to see if that gets any traction. And I'm going to be honest, I kind of hope that it doesn't and they go back to doing the fun, cool stuff. It's like a 6 out of 10.
He told me Nike, just do it. Hands on my breast and my body like he knew it.
This was an album that I was very excited to get into. Shygirl's previous project, the incredible Alias EP, is just one of the best things I've ever heard. The over-the-top, hyper-aggressive, hyper-sexual lyrics with the incredible kind of like hyper-pop electronic production from like Sega, Bodega and Sophie and stuff. It was just a perfect combination of elements and worked really well. But since then, the singles that Shy has dropped have kind of been a little bit worrying. Things like Cleo or Firefly showed her moving into just this sort of like gentler, poppier direction, which I didn't think worked as well. So I was curious going into this album to sort of see which direction she'd go in, and the answer is she's kind of gone in all of them. This album is a little all over the place, a little unfocused and a little bit scattered. A lot of it is that kind of more laid back pop sound, although I'd say most of the songs here do it better than the kind of singles did. But as I expected, my favorite songs are the fun, energetic, in your face like rap tracks, things like the single Nike or Slut or Little Bit or Missin' You are just fun, over the top, and I'm really into them. And what's kind of a shame about this, not just that they're only kind of in a few places on the album, is that they're all super short as well. Like the longest one of these tracks is barely over 2 minutes, with Missin' You, which might be my favorite song out of all of them, being literally like 59 seconds. And I'm like, give me more of that. That's the good stuff. That's the fun stuff. I think really the biggest letdown of this album is just that like lack of consistency, because any of the sounds here really could be done well. Even the songs that I enjoyed less, I feel like if she were to just completely focus on that and make a whole album out of that sound, it would be amazing and phenomenal. I know Shy could do it really well, but this album just sort of feels like a bunch of loose odds and ends that all have potential but don't really get a chance to prove it. Hoping to see Shygirl do something just a bit more like focused in the future, but for now this is a 6 to 7 out of 10. Bladee is an artist that I've been trying to make myself like for a few years now. It seems like all of the Drain Gang just have so much fun, and I'm like, I want in on that. But I'm still yet to hear sort of something that really grabs me. I find that a lot of his stuff while it tries to be sort of like dreamy and ethereal, just sort of ends up being quite sleepy instead. And that's definitely still an issue on this album. There are a few songs that just kind of started and ended without my brain even really recognizing that they were there. But there's also quite a few songs that actually really piqued my interest. Songs like I'm Slowly But Surely Losing Hope and Velociraptor feature these kind of like electronic guitar sounds to have almost a bit of a rockier feel. Bladee has a bit more of an animated delivery in these, and I think they're really cool and interesting. There's some fun kind of rappier cuts like Icarus 3 style or the lead single Drain Story that are a bit cooler and kind of just have a bit more to do. And then there's also the track Haha, which is maybe my favorite Bladee song I've ever heard now. It's just bright and lush and thick, and Blade's performance is easily the most animated I've ever heard him. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's really cool. Though that isn't to say that I only like the more energetic stuff. I think the final track on this song, Uriel Outro, is absolutely gorgeous. So while I'm not in love with everything that this album has to offer, there are a few things that I find sort of interesting and exciting that I'd love to see Bladee keep going with in the future. I just know that one day he's gonna drop that album that is gonna completely drain me, and I'm excited for that day to come. But until then, this is a 6 to 7 out of 10. And that does it for this week. Have you heard any of these albums? What are your thoughts on them? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, click the buttons. You're smart enough. You know what to do if you want to see more of this face. And I will see you next week for another roundup. Thank you for watching. Love you. Bye-bye.